fancy seeing all of you here. Welcome back to the Amazon European Masters. We have ourselves a very special matchup coming up. It is a quarterfinalist versus semi-finalist team from Spring. It's X7 versus AGO Rogue. And two teams in a matchup that could well decide the fate of this group.
Now, both of these teams came into summer and had some mishaps happen. Of course, X7 had some mishaps right from the start of the split. Had a very difficult start to summer. Changed out a player, went on a winning streak up until the finals where they were reverse swept. Of course, AGO Rogue also lost their finals. It's no surprise for them. No, they're no strangers to somehow losing summer despite being a very dominant team within their region. Lost three summer splits back-to-back despite having very good performances in spring. In this group, it is X7 who are managing to find their form once again, even though they were the quarterfinalists to the semi-finalists of AGO Rogue's spring performance. And in this game, AGO Rogue will want to stabilize their own run and take a win off of X7, who in turn beat LDLC in a win which even we didn't expect, honestly speaking.
No, it was one of those games we said, look, if you want to be the champion, you need to slay the dragon. And LDLC were like the dragon, but it's like Tiamat. They have 5 heads, breathing fire. This great, champion of the LFL here to dominate in the place of Karmine Core, their one kryptonite team. And they get that incredible win. But X7 on the blue side, first pick the Renata that Kasing popped off with, frankly, yesterday.
Oh, he dealt LDLC some very difficult team fights within that game, and a lot of it was through the Renata Ultimates, that first Herald fight, which started being such a big factor for them. Now, there are some similarities between these two teams and the way that they draft, and a little bit between the way that they play, particularly in the top lane and the AD carry role. Talking with Solari, one of the Ultra League casters in English, and was talking about how Luck is the first choice of AGO Rogue for their hyper carry. But on the top side, Sinmivak kind of just plays whatever the team needs. And honestly, that feels like Attila and Chasy for me from X7. Very similar in regards to it. So what we get to see is a bit of an arm wrestle, a bit of a head-to-head on similar styles to just see who's bluntly better on the day.
Of course, Rabble locks in the Trundle. Not any of his unusual AP champs. Was very famous for the likes of the Lilia, which was opening sides against it. Instead, we see Tempt, Azir. I think people might well remember the highlight plays he had on that champion back at last Amazon European Masters, where he found incredible shuffles early on into the game. It's Attila's Zeri as well.
Beat Karmine Core as well.
Oh, yes.
In that first best of one in the group stage. Took some heads in that tournament, even if they did bow out in the quarterfinals. On the other side, though, looking at AGO Rogue, and they lock in Ashe. Now, of course, this can be a support. It was played by promisq once this summer. It is a flex, but we have been seeing this pick a lot more in the support role compared to the AD carry. It means you have a bit of a range advantage, a lot of poke in lane, and it's kind of hard to shut this champion down. Not that X7 don't have backline access with the likes of that Renata ult, but they'll be looking for some more to shut down what is likely to be a long-range poke bot lane.
Does look to be that way, but of course, if Zeri and Renata can just get towards that 2-3 items without having to put miles behind or even only a little bit behind, you know exactly what those champions do once the items are in. But you can see X7 kind of recognizing that Ashe is likely going towards support, banning out some of those key pairings. Well, Ashe Misfortune's right up there.
And it's Lucker's most played too. He's played 5 games of it. So you look at that and go, yeah, well, funnily enough, they've actually changed roles from what they were played at the Season 6 World Championship when Ashe MF lanes were a thing. Back then, it was MF support where you played into Zyra because your double up would always kill the plant and get like the huge damage buff from killing a target with that Q. A lot of history, very famous example of when that lane was picked up. Switched around at that point. Of course, the MF has now been banned away, but we are, of course, expecting that Ashe to be that support with stuff like either the Imperial Mandate or something like a Dustblade, just for a bit more poke and CDR.
I do want to remind people as well that the Swain was left open, and both Tempt and Nite were both very famous for. Of course, with the Azir locked in, you kind of have to feel that maybe Nite might want to lock that in here. Instead, thinking about Ezreal to go alongside that, but it's just some hovers for now, so I'll hold my breath before something really is locked in, because I know that obviously Nite literally got what was part of the play of the day just yesterday, having had the Swain Yuumi combo run over the back end of a game. It will be luck on the Ezreal. A lot of mobility, a lot of agency to try and
a lot of range.
Yeah, exactly that.
And a lot of range, because you have the Ashe and you have the Ezreal to be like, look, you have a Zeri and an Azir. That's great long range damage, which scales well into the game. But what if we just poke you from a distance? What if we can just stay at that range? They're saving last pick for mid laner. Wondering what Nite can bring out in that regard. I'm actually wondering if something like a Zoe could work out very well. But with the Vi locked in, it becomes a bit more dangerous to do that. Kasing going his old hover of the Zillion, and I wonder whether Chasy even wants to commit to team fights, because looking at this 5v5 from a Go Rogue, it's a little bit awkward to close the distance with. If you could just play side lanes, maybe that works instead. The Aatrox is a bit of both. It can struggle to close the distance against this comp, but it does do well into the Ornn in an individual matchup.
You can get to a couple items before Ezreal's really online as well. You can sort of out-heal before he can out-DPS you, and you understand the decision-making there, and good 2-item spike towards the top side of the map, and you've got the Zeri for the late game. It kind of makes sense, and with the Vi to try and lock down FLICKR, you can see the angle, but the hover of the Ziggs and the lock-in of the Ziggs means the range and zone control the AGO Rogue now have is pretty extreme.
This actually reminds... You know, I've seen this combo before. Now, we've seen this combo before.
We have indeed.
Because we used to see this, and I promise you, it's not where all of our casts go, but we have seen it in Japan, in the LJL, where Recap on the side of Rascal Jesters played a lot of Ziggs mid. We don't see a lot of Ziggs mid anymore. It's still normally played
thing, exactly.
towards bot lane. And of course, Sarah's son, Danish, folks, being very famous player of that out there. But the whole idea is that it's very much like what we were seeing from stuff like Jhin Leona, Ziggs Leona, Rakan. The Ashe just pins someone in place and everything hits them from 2 screens away. I'm looking at what AGO Rogue can do with this. There is a big emphasis on X7 to maintain vision control, to be disciplined about the way that they are working around the cooldowns and the huge long-range burst combo which AGO Rogue have, because this combo, it will absolutely eviscerate the first person out of position.
Absolutely, and you between Ornn Pillar and all the rest of his CC, Call of the Forge God, of course, between Trundle Pillar, between the Minefield, between the Ashe, like volleys and arrows. That is so much zone control and area denial to try and get through for the side of X7. Could get very difficult if they don't manage to get some of their key carries online. But then you look, it's Tempt Azir, it's Attila, Zeri, Chasy on a counter pick. That feels pretty great for X7 as well, at least in theory, even if the comp from AGO Rogue is a little bit more spicy.
Yeah, I like the comp from AGO Rogue. Should they end up in an even game where they can get some pockets of vision to play around? That's what I'm looking for, so keep an eye for those wards and how they get it. Question is, though, can they achieve that? Because actually one of the best things that X7 did against LDLC, taking down the LFL champions, was controlling vision control. Right the way from level 1. Viking just walked up into the enemy jungle, controlled the enemy vision, and made sure that it was tracking the enemy jungler and denying the enemy team what they really wanted to do. Now, in this jungle matchup, a little bit harder to do so, but you do have Prio on your top side lane. Ziggs doesn't really get to push in Azir as much early. You can definitely poke out, especially if Azir stands too close to those backline minions. You can kind of AoE both of them. That's the gold standard for Ziggs. You want to get your bombs onto both the enemy champion and the enemy minions. But with all that said and done, Azir still has a lot of AoE damage onto minions through the Sand Soldiers and gets the ability to push through.
You can call it your bomb one, you get one free. It's, you know, it's a slight change on the usual sentiment. I came up with that on the fly, and I'm sorry, it wasn't very good.
Bogov or whatever the acronym is. It's just more explosive, I guess.
Oh, flashing on one. Do get that in and now. Attila has to be exhausted, but FLICKR ignited down, taking so much damage. The trade back is nowhere near the same level. That is a win at the level 1. The flash and the ignite and the ghost down there for X7. So the summoner trade still in favor of RGO, but they don't have control of the lane.
But it is, that's exactly what it is. It's control away from the double range lane of the Ezreal Ashe. And yeah, while you have a range support in the Renata, you bring a Guardian to play, which is not what promisq brings in, which means you have an extra amount of HP to work with on the first wave. I really love what Kasing does there. We're already talking about how priority is going over to X7 in the top side lanes. Getting it in the bot side as well gives Viking so many options and removes quite a lot from Rabble.
Keep your eyes on Rabble though, because he is pathing towards that bot lane, and with those summoners down, there's a very easy gank opportunity there. If X7 are not respectful enough, potential ganks, exactly that.
Yeah,
looking at the level 3 rapid.
So he's got gone Red Raptor's Wall Scrump. It's not the fastest level 3, but it will be able to just make sure that he's at that point of power heading down towards the bot side either way. With that delay though of doing an extra camp, it is going to be delayed to the point where Viking could also respond should that he'd be called to that point. Actually going from bot to top though. Interesting what Attila and Kasing are doing. I think that actually the wave is now slow pushing back into them, so they're going to be safe.
Exactly that. It means that the wave wasn't there for a potential level 3 dive or anything like that. So all feeling pretty okay, even if those summoners potentially leave them vulnerable for the next few minutes. We'll see whether that does come out to hurt them. The volley poke from promisq alongside the mystic shots. Definitely a little obnoxious to deal with from the side of Attila.
Yeah, so Rabble are going to take bot side Scuttle. Viking still full clearing from bot to top side, and we aren't really seeing the big power plays early on. Rabble has options now. There are no wards put down into the enemy jungle entrance, and Rabble's just checking out enemy camps, seeing what's around. Going to be able to just head down to that bot side jungle and just make sure he's tracking the enemy jungle. We already talked about how important that was for various teams in this tournament. Rabble doing it for his now.
Do keep your eyes, of course, on the lights that top side. It was an early back from Nite to get a hold of a nice tib. And then on the other side, Tempt now taking his opportunity to reset, is going to teleport back as well. But it's worth remembering that X7 were notorious in the NLC, particularly in playoffs, for just coming out of lane with extreme advantages, up 15, 20 CS on average every single game without fail, which was quite extraordinary to see. In, you know, it wasn't like any lane was ever falling behind, and it's something you do see whether a rogue can match here, because they can't start to bleed out of games very quickly.
But in this game, as we said, it is very quick for them to just turn a situation into their favor with these with this composition they've got. It's not like X7 have already dove someone, already started like sectioning off parts of the map which a Go Rogue can't go and walk into. In fact, it's actually going to be Rabble who's going to have first crack at this. Remember, Chasy overpushed a little bit in their first game. Might have a chance to get killed here.
Does have flash, still has the dash. We'll use the flash first. Let's use the Umbral dash, but he'll have to burn the summoner to get out alive for now. Slides forward to throw down a few Dark Blades to warn off the Trundle, but the summoner is still blown.
So Chasy still has control on top side, blows the flash for it, but now Rabble has been seen. Can be seen again actually by a ward on the other jungle entrance, Tempt heading towards the bot side of the map. But X7, again, choosing not to do anything drastic. Currently very happy to just have control in their lanes and get up to their own CS advantages and play their lanes out well.
Indeed they are, and they're feeling pretty happy with the slow state of the game. In fact, honestly, both teams feeling relatively happy about the slower state of the game, so they'd love to get a couple items before anything really blows open, unless the opportunities present themselves. But Summoner's starting to come back up on the side of X7. Maybe that does mean there's an angle to look into this bot side. Of course, there was a control ward there, though, which Viking has just cleared out. I mean, any potential angle for a gank is, for now, stymied.
Okay, so seeing teleport from Sinmivak back up towards that top side. Going to just reset into that lane. But this is where things start to get a little bit hairy in the next couple of minutes, because you're going to start getting ultimates on the board. And particularly when you get that first Ashe ult of the game. Watch out for that in about 3 minutes, because that'll be when that XP level tends to be hit. That'll be when I'm looking for ADC Rogue to blow open one part of the map just when vision control starts to fail like 7 and walk that into an advantage.
Trundle taking this opportunity as well with the wave shoved in to start up a nice early dragon, and maybe this is a good opportunity just to talk about AGO Rogue in general, because they are forever the bridesmaid in summer. They are a little bit like RNG in the fact that they win spring, they just can't win summer to save their lives, but they don't get the chance of that because X7 actually want to contest here. Rabble having to back away from the dragon while Viking is saying, well, thank you for the leash, I might just start this one up.
Yeah, but you don't have the ability to hard engage from X7 right now, because you don't have ultimates, right? So you can't close the distance. They're looking to contest this, just hoping that the dragon damage will tilt things in their favor. Kasing has flash again. Remember what he did with the last one? He's doing it again.
The flash for that Vault Breaker, and Trundle's skull is caved in. They get the dragon. Tempt sliding forward, looking to get a shove back, but instead it'll be a satchel charge over the wall for Nite to get out of there. But they get first blood, they get the dragon, and X7 come out with the win.
That is a really well-picked fight from X7. They understand that even though you don't normally contest for first dragon of the game, they had the ability to do so, play around with a bit of their own range. And now with Chasy up on the top side, being able to control his own lane, X7 walk away with a kill. They walk away with the dragon, which can be, of course, very important, especially when it is, oh, Sing just used that flash, probably dead here.
See whether he's got anywhere to go. Over comes Vi, though. Exhaust thrown down. Sing taken very low. FLICKR needs a final Mystic Shot, does get it.
Kasing just popping the igniter and goes, yeah, you take that damage, you, and kind of gets caught out recalling, going back towards base. So while the level 1 worked out for X7 fairly well in the 2v2, you can see what FLICKR and promisq can do with this incredibly obnoxious Ashe Ezreal combo.
Yeah, absolutely. In his, yeah, that's very. In his defense, I think he saw Viking was very, very close and was vault breaking his way over the wall. It was about 2 seconds off being on the the fight. So maybe with the world, if he managed to dodge the Mystic Shot, there could have been a turnaround, I suppose, with the overcase. But either way, the summoner's blown. He gets punished backing in the gold. Right back to even because of that kill going back towards AGO.
Okay, well, Kasing does actually end up, of course, coming back onto the map after that. Respawn goes straight towards that Herald. You don't have level 6 hit from your supports yet, which means no Ashe ult engage. Maybe Sinmivak could make an angle towards this one, but as we saw in one of our previous games of the day, when you have the stuff like the Fiora into the Ornn, you can just keep them in lane, and you don't have that Ornn powerful ultimate being able to be cast to turn the tables on something like this. So, Herald over to the side of X7, Dragon over to the side of X7, and of course First Blood. The other game metrics working out for them, and X7, of course, coming in as the NLC second seed. This is a team which also had their own issues in summer. They did do an admirable job of overcoming, and they honestly were the favorites heading into the NLC finals in the same way that AGO Rogue were also in the Ultra Liga. Now both of them face off against each other of the almost first seeds, but we don't get to have almost in this tournament. You only get those cold, hard results. Next 7 are currently started at 2-0, looking to go 3-0 and solidify their place in this first round robin.
And of course, if they do lose, suddenly you have a 3-way tie between AGO Rogue and X7 and LDLC. Tempted arrow onto Tempt, who just walks out from away from it. Solid footwork there, but that's the kind of danger that this Rogue squad can bring to the table.
But that's the first arrow of the game, which has achieved very little. And now you have Tempt, who doesn't blow a flash. It's not like you're going to have that when the arrow comes off a cooldown. Tempt has been so good at playing defensively. This guy is just so hard to break. He's the rock of the mid lane in the strongest possible sense for X7. Has himself a bit of a CS advantage in X7. They avoid one of the first potential pitfalls that AGO Rogue could throw at.
And Tempt was right up there as one of the best mid laners the NLC had to offer, especially when X7 were struggling towards the beginning part of the split. He was still shining like that.
Still.
Yeah, exactly that. And then once Viking came in the jungle and that incredible win streak occurred for the team, managed to really light up the mid lane with the rest of X7. Now, still plates going down the way of AGO Rogue, who not a bad team in their own right, who've been a dominant team in the Polish leagues for a long time.
Kasing can do here. Viking is around, has Herald, doesn't have Flash, but if he pings himself onto one of those folks, they're going to be very, very upset indeed.
Dude, just keep our eyes on that. He is hovering around. Would love to get some plates down there as Chasy happy with the 1v1 at the top side, just slowly gathering increasing CS leads, and got himself a plate to his name as well. Still about 3 minutes before those plates fall. Looking like it might be an Eclipse build for this Aatrox as well, with that Dirk in him.
Yes.
I'll keep our eyes on that as Viking has decided against looking towards the bot side, is currently on vision, but will clear out the control ward he just walked over, as you can see on the minimap. That's about it for now.
Yeah, we're seeing a little bit more of the Eclipse build just because it is very, very good in terms of that percent armor shred from the Mythic passive, as well as giving you just a whole host of stats. It is a very good stat stick item, gives you everything you need as a bruiser, even though it's meant to be for assassins. Viking still with this Herald in inventory though, not going towards that top side. This is kind of what we expected from both these top laners in a way actually. It's just, look, you're going to play whatever we need you for the team, succeed in your own way. Chasy has the good matchup and leveraging that so far. Viking looking somewhere else on the map to try and influence things. Next Dragon coming up. Maybe you can put it down bot side to force AGO Rogue to respond somewhere while not being able to respond to this Dragon take.
10 seconds on that. Viking turns up. We'll drop the Herald. Attila will be here, and they'll look to try and claim a few plates before that comes through. The
should be
Crucial Barrage
three,
comes
actually.
through. It might actually be a little bit more. It might be going towards even more. Does land the arrow onto Viking, but I don't know whether they get any more. Actually, the hostile takeover,
no.
He goes back in, trying to bail him out. It's not quite in time, but the turnaround of Rabble's pretty good. He has to flash back out. Lucka, though, hopping forwards, gets a kill. Just be 1 kill back, and that was an unfortunate ultimate timing from Viking.
Yeah, he flashes out, but he's already pressed his R, so he goes back and flings himself back into the play. Flash blown. Dead jungler. While it was first blood onto Rabble around the first. X7, they overplay their hand on the bot side. Viking punished. AGO Rogue back on the board.
They'll get the dragon afterwards, so it does become something of a trade. Turret down, but a kill and a dragon back, and we're feeling pretty happy about that one. Well played, and it's another one! 2 in a row for us.
Well, didn't really get to see too much of the impact of that in
Who's he bribed?
me. It's me. I'm the believer.
This is the Amazon European Masters scandal. There's some corruption going on, but Jamada's like paid off to pick up Cloud Souls every game.
But with that, it does mean that X7 don't get themselves second Dragon of the games. Even split across those objectives. Maybe a bit fortunate to get that first one. Played that one well, but of course, punishing the second side. Again, going to show why the Ultra League representatives are not a team to be looked down upon themselves. promisq sees that Vi has used the Vault Breaker to get in. Uses to get out and like get some distance away from it. But as you can see, Viking just flings himself back into the play and gets punished for it.
Maybe if they had like gotten a little bit more damage down, it might have been doable. It just wasn't there.
They do get out the first spell. I'm actually not sure whether... okay, well, Attila might just die here.
He doesn't have an E, but Viking is... Sorry, not Viking. Kasing is around, so he won't be able to get anything more out of it.
I'm not sure local gold was picked up from that tower. I'm not sure whether Attila was close enough. Not sure if anyone can confirm that, because of course we only saw it in the picture-in-picture, didn't get a close enough look at it, but either way, gold's still in favor of FLICKR, having 2 kills to their name, even though the plates have gone down in the favor of X7. That would have been a nice little denial from the Ultra League team.
Game continues to be relatively slow, but as it stands...
Yeah, no local gold was picked up, just being confirmed by production.
Confirmation indeed from Jesper in production. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that heads up. And you're right, it does mean that the gold lead stays with FLICKR, even if it is only 400 or so. That's still a pretty big deal. And 2 kills to his name as well, exactly what you need to see. If you have decided to pick this Ezreal, you need to make it work, because you are going to be a huge part of the damage for your team.
Yeah, I mean, at least in this game, you are fairly happy hitting the first target on the front line. You can throw your ultimate across anyway, but most of the time when you pick something like a Zeri or a Sivir, you kind of hit the back line through the front line. Because of your various abilities with Chain Lightning, Ricochet. Something like an Ezreal, though, when you have a Trundle on your team and a lot of CC to pin someone down, very happy to hit that first target. Question is, which target are you hitting in this one? You can test around the Herald.
Right, Chasy playing bodyguard, goes over the wall, calls the forward guard summon, but it's turned around by a hostile takeover, and Trundle and Ornn start fighting each other. Chasy goes in, pops the world ender, but has to flash right back on out again. Gets knocked up and around, but the Herald's already gone down, and X7 will extricate themselves with their prize.
So that's a lot of ultimates used by ADC Rogue now, so I am a little worried, because now you have a couple of minutes where X7 can go, all right, let's just go push them out. They summon the Herald immediately in mid lane, because what fighting potential does ADC Rogue have now at this point? It's going to be a split of towers. Very quick response from Ultra League team to go towards that top lane out of turret, try pushing that in, but it's very high HP. This could be a double turret take by X7.
Get a bit of a chunk onto Nite, who does not really want to be standing there. Nowhere to stop this. It's going to be a dead tower, not quite. Doesn't quite fall as he the way. It's not quite down. Attila takes a big chunk on the way out, and now has to back away, but to be fast. Flash attempt there will not work out. We'll get out with their lives, but quite secure that mid lane tier 2.
I actually wonder whether if Tempt stays to put another auto attack in, another auto attack or 2, maybe could have been the inner turret secured as well, but he chooses to go and clear out some vision. Oh, Ashe manages to stop the recall, which means that there is no... I mean, I guess the only way that would have really added on to... Wait, they're going to stop it again?
Yeah, they are.
Oh, poor Chasy. Poor Chasy. Of course, he has the teleport. Could have teleported somewhere else on the map where the big play to be made. It just means that you know where the Aatrox is. You know that he's not going to be making problems for you somewhere else on the map. So X7, again, not walking away with a game-breaking play at that point. It is going to be answered in somewhat...
So many backstabs, such an obnoxious range that this
the only step beyond this is literally running over to X7's like computers and removing the B key. That's the only thing which could go. Okay, I'm sorry. I've
just got this picture of like promisq sneaking through a house like in like full ninja outfit to like steal the keycaps from X7's people.
I mean, at this point, you're gonna have X7 literally just setting up little tents across Summoner's Rift because they ain't going back home for the night.
Oh, dear. The trains have been cancelled.
Gonna have to sofa surf somewhere on Summoner's Rift. Chasy, though, able to get back towards this top side, and though ADC Rogue stop X7 from playing out as cleanly around their next set of resets. Chasy does still have a teleport, gets to answer towards top side, and take down that tower.
Quietly, just quietly, they've got themselves a bit of a lead. It's a decent attempt in, but Viking's gone very deep. She doesn't have that much damage. Sees the resist come through. He's going to get bailed out. Not quite enough to keep him alive, though, as they can't quite secure the kill. Teleport's not coming through. Sinmivak trying to run out, has no flash. There's not too many ways to go. Attila throwing out the Violet's Fire, lands the old shock laser. It will now be a 1-for-1 top laner for jungle.
Hey, but Viking, once again, the person who's being punished as the Vi. If you are the one person diving in, that Trundle ult is going to make your life hell. And you can see that AGO Rogue very good at peeling back, making sure that their carries are at least separated and can do damage to the first person into the fight. Now, no smite for the side of X7. AGO Rogue honestly winning out in this micro play so far.
Very best. Attila takes control of the mid lane, but the HP bar of X7 pretty low. They get a bit of a chunk back though in trade, and this choke point becoming pretty difficult for Rogue. And now they're going to turn right back onto the Skull Crab and maybe onto the Dragon. They're waiting on Viking to come back in to teleport back in. Of course, Sinmivak has now respawned. Ashe arrow goes wide. X7 trying to back out. The Mega Inferno Bomb lands onto Attila and Kasing, chunked out pretty low with the Leandry's burn afterwards. promisq continuing to be obnoxious. Falls straight out of the river. X7 cannot stand.
Yeah, and X7, they're dodging a lot of skill shots. Honestly, the Ziggs hasn't hit that much. They're still looking for a contest, though.
Chasy lands, starts toward an attempt on the other side. Rabble taken so low. They're going to head on to Sinmivak, who's teleported in, still no flash. The Dragon's gone down, but they'll lose their top laner for it a second time.
Yes, but you can see that. Go Rogue. Ooh, okay, another ultimate being flung past. But AGO Rogue doing a really good job of just understanding that they have the staying power in the fight. They have range, and they can punish the first person into the play. As long as the fight goes slowly, it's working out for them. X7, as we said, could have gone a lot worse for them. They dodged an awful lot of skill shots coming into this. But I tell you what, Sam, I'm just getting a little bit worried for our NLC team. It felt like they were at a very large advantage, but this Ultra League representative doing very well at holding them to account around these objectives. They've got 2 dragons back-to-back, and X7, they're not finding easy ways into these fights.
Well, they might be about 3,000 gold just shy, but you can sort of see how AGO Rogue's comp's supposed to be. What's supposed to be like a quirky few picks to turn things around is actually really obnoxious. Ezreal and Ashe and Ziggs throwing out all this poke while Trundle and Ornn just hold the front line, and you outrange pretty much everybody, because when Azir and Attila try to step forward to do damage, they're right in the perfect range for FLICKR and Nite to make that a very difficult place to stand for very long.
But you're still getting gold onto an Azir and a Zeri, and should they ever get to be dealing damage, that is going to be very scary. Of course, Ezreal on 3 items, 3 kills rather, and going towards 3 items. Not exactly going to be a slouch in terms of his own damage output, but still, Zeri, we've seen what that champion can do. As of recent patches, recent games, certified Zeri moments left, right, and center. So, I think this game now, in the next couple of minutes, next 5 to 10 minutes, will be, of course, going back around to AGO Rogue, trying to get that superior objective setup once again. Just making sure that X7's carries can't get those opportune moments to play. They're looking to separate out the front line, burn them down with the Trundle, reset the fight, and then use the range to their advantage. X7, well, let's be honest, want the opposite of that. They want to make sure they actually pin down the target, maybe play around these objectives.
Tempt gets stunned, but just get to slide away. promisq being very opportunistic with those arrows to pretty good success, honestly. And the fact is, with the Imperial Mandate now complete, you can see how quickly that Ashe is all coming off cooldown. It's already a quarter of the way done. That quickly, but now the turnaround's pretty huge. promisq taken so very low. The Mega Inferno Bomb does its work, but Viking gets the kill. Shuffling away, but now Rabble at the back end of this looks to come over the wall. Misses it up, but overcome the rest of X7, trying to punish stopwatch from Tempt buys time. Gonna try and get him away. Who get on out, and they get the kill onto Rabble to boot. Tempt just alive, but goes down to the bailout. He's about to fall afterwards, but now Nite in danger. Nowhere to go. It will be a 3-for-1 in favor of X7, and a double to none other than Attila.
Okay, well, Chasy chasing down FLICKR as well, has flash and exhaust. Let's see if he has to use both.
There's Paul the Force trying to buy time, but there's an bestial to the Umbral Chains. I apologize to force FLICKR to flash. To finally come across my words, but exhaust flash down.
AGO Rogue very, very lucky that Tempt died in that fight. Otherwise, that's probably Baron. You get to teleport back into the map, and with all of those death timers, it would have been a game-breaking Baron. What do we just say that X7 can look to do, though? Play away from the objectives. Play around these skirmishes instead. You do have a lot of mobility. You can close the gap without having to worry about the Trundle at the start of it. And while Nite does a great job of turning around a lot of damage, you can see what X7 can do when they actually get the carries hitting the right people. Tempt, so unlucky with that burn down. Ends up taking down even the bailout, not able to secure anything because, of course, no kills were picked up during that duration of the burn down. And after this point, X7 still walk away with a good play, but it could have been the game-breaking one Now we're going at it again.
Here we go again. Sinmivak managed to immune the ultimate, but now has to be very scared because Tempt will not be stopped. Viking cease and desists him. Maybe more like cease and deceased after that one. Another kill. The top laner dead again. 30 seconds now. RGO needs to be a little afraid. Nite in danger. Chasy continues to be very scary in that mid lane turret that was set up earlier. Goes down. Oh,
and once again,
Rabble. My days.
Once again, ADC Rogue are not playing around the fights which they are winning. They're not playing around the objective setups. They don't want to be playing in their own jungle where the mobility of X7 comes to bear and they can cross these walls, separate up the team of ADC Rogue and get their damage online. Now you have 30 seconds to kill this dragon. You've already lost a couple of fights back to back. You've lost a lot of vision from this. What should have been a very good objective-based game from the Ultra League team is getting a little bit scary because X7 have picked their fights better in the last 5 minutes.
The items came online, they're all at 2 now, and rather than letting ADC Rogue set up their battle lines, the bulwarks of the top jungle, and then that incredible artillery line that is Nite and FLICKR, getting that opportunity because the go buttons from X7 are punishing them every time in that red side jungle. You can see that line of wards that X7 have put down to spot out exactly where ADC Rogue are.
X7 haven't defended the vision. They've gone for resets. See this big amount of that big blue trinket coming in. Nite has teleport, but wants to get to that fight early. Teleporting in now.
Ultra shot laser takes FLICKR down to half HP. They're going to try and keep him alive. I think that was a spell book heal possibly after that one as well. Chasy remaining on a flank. Kasing doing his best to be obnoxious. Arrow lands into the call of the Forge God. Kasing going to be chunked out from this one, surely. But the dragon goes down. They cannot force their way through the choke point this time around.
And this really is the kind of the crowning jewel of X7 finding these skirmishes in the last 5 minutes between the last dragon spawns. You can control the map. Just pen ADC Rogue back into their own side of the map. And even though they managed to get an entry into the river, clear out some of that vision themselves, they lose the dragon because of X7 choosing better fights between dragon spawns. They will not want to fall prey to that again, but as you can see, Viking already heading out onto the map, and they might not have a choice. They might be forcing the issue.
Yes, they are. Over they go with Tempt. Gets the shuffle into the cease and desist, and the bounce house leaves Rabble with nowhere to go. The only things being roused is X7 spirits right now. They'll head back towards this Baron. A chunk out onto Viking will not be enough to dissuade them from starting up the big purple worm.
Well, you do still have a lot of poke from the side of ADC Rogue. That's why they're not starting this up immediately. Were it not for the Ashe, Ezreal, Ziggs triple poke combo. Oh, Chasy
gets chunked out, has to flash away. Not as tanky as you might hope. And clearly, my words were very much misspoken. But despite the jungle going down, they cannot stand and take the word.
promisq is going to be safe. All right. Well, yeah, I mean, we didn't really see what happened in that mid lane, but I see a lot of ultimates on cooldown. Imagine promisq threw an ult at Chasy, and now his flash has been forfeit. Of course, has the Ionian boost lucidity, so flash cooldown a little lower for the Aatrox than his opposing number in the Ornn, who hasn't taken that one item. And the front line having that. Hello, Sam.
I want you to check the time on your ticket. I believe it's sort of time to board the 26 o'clock. Third item complete for Zeri. 26 minutes on the clock. Aatrox knows what we're talking about.
2 hours to the day. The 26 o'clock. There are 24 hours in the day.
But there's 26 minutes on the time.
I can find you a planet which has like 26 hours.
We're not on Earth. We're on Valoran.
That's oh wow, you're really just changing the law right now. Ooh, wow,
yeah, they've got 26 hours. I mean, the law gets changed often enough. That's fair.
Anyway, well, with
26
minutes, as we were saying, it's a bit of a meme we have in the NLC casting community because Aatrox knew this back from the LPLOL days of Attila. You hit 26 minutes, you get 3 items onto Attila, and he team fights you to death. He's been doing that for years, and he's hit the 3 items Infinity Edge involved with that Zeri. And we saw the last couple of times that Attila gets online. We saw what happened against LDLC. X7, honestly, a large part of their victory was Attila having an excellent game on Zeri. Now X7, they buy themselves some time. They have a lot of DPS on this dragon, and the poke isn't at the objective just yet.
I think he's taking pretty low here, though. He doesn't really want to be the one tanking for too much longer, but the setup's not quite there yet. Arrow goes wide, and the turnaround begins to come through. Down to 4,000, and they pull away. Kasing taking so down low. Needs to be afraid. Hostile takeover comes through, doesn't quite die. X7 taking so down low. This is the problem with this comp. And it's on red side as well. They get so much free time to poke, but FLICKR does not enjoy the ultra shot laser. This prime carry from ADC Rogue at 3 items, doing a lot of work, but it turns out Attila can return the favor as well.
That's the thing, you know, you can't count out this Azir. Oh, Nite just failed to jump.
Feeling a little afraid, throws down the lightning crash. Attila's feeling it. Chasy on the flank looking for an angle.
There's nothing
Attila
to
cannot
stop
be
him.
stopped. They've got nothing to stop him. They're trying to turn this around, but the Ashe arrow is still on cooldown. They have to back away. The chunk out actually is pretty huge. Maybe X7 can turn back to Baron.
Well, Attila doesn't have the HP right now. How much can he end up life-stealing? He's just going to go clear out some wards instead. Go to hit that recall button, and you can see again how difficult it is to play around objectives against what AGO Rogue are bringing to
It is very
table. X7 are walking away with slight victories, but they're not game-breaking victories, and it's not enough to put them out of sight of this team because one person gets picked off in the way that we've seen them so nearly do the entirety of this game, and actually they're right back into it. All it takes is one messed up objective fight and suddenly X7 lose their advantage. They're trying their absolute best to not let that happen. And I, for one, am really glad that we are getting a close contest, because this group was one I was looking at and saying, yeah, you know, technically, looking at LDLC as the first seed and two teams who are coming in who could have been first seeds as well. You've got a lot of potential in this group. Not all of it was recognized in summer, but the ceilings of these teams are so incredibly high, and to see those close contests again, it just makes it very satisfying as a wider ERL viewer to kind of see these teams finally go head-to-head and put some games and some victories and losses on the table.
Absolutely. Even so, it's still 6,000 gold that X7 are up, and a lot of that is in the top half of the map. 2,500 gold in particular in Chasy's pocket, 2 levels up on Sinmivak. This Aatrox is so deadly. Even if the composition for Rogue is making that gold perhaps a little bit of a misnomer. Arrow goes wide, but that'll be off cooldown soon enough.
Viking was hanging in the side as well. Now Chasy playing on the bot wave. Just look at Nite's ultimate cooldown was used to clear the top wave. Means it's not there for the dragon in a couple of seconds. Viking trying to find his own angle. Chasy found his own one already.
Trying to find those unbullshit there. Abyssal chains on the luck is chunked
they're
out by that. Into the season desist! Flashing away, reach out of danger. First good over the wall alongside Nite. They're gonna die. 2 dead already. Of course, it's into Attila's hands. They'll get another in the hands of Chasy, and Lucker cannot outrun the world ender. He is your enemy. A double kill towards him. Rabble will be put into the dirt as well. X7 will brook no dissent, and they will claim a clean ace. The gold lead finally brought to bear.
It was a game finally balanced for a while, tipping towards X7, but on the knife's edge, it is held in the hand of X7, plunged into the hearts of the Ultra Leaguer. X7 take a dominating teamfight victory, and this honestly should be the fight which turns the game. You've got objectives up on the table, and you're going to start up this Baron, which would be disastrous for AGO Rogue to give up.
So well installing objectives. Even when Rabble died, they were able to poke off, but this time Chasy has the flank. This time Viking gets onto Lucker, and he cannot free fire.
And right at the start of the fight, the gap has been closed. You don't have the ability to play from range, play around your CC. Chasy, Viking, both finding their way both ways into the fight. In the picture-in-picture, we can see that the Baron is secured. We was wondering whether a couple of ultimates would be thrown at it, but yeah, AGO Rogue, all it took was one fight where they misplayed their ranges, and this long-range poke artillery comp gets absolutely torn up.
The charge commences, and there is no charge of the Light Brigade. They all get in, and none of them die. They get themselves to Soul Point. They get themselves the Baron. They are now a healthy amount of 12,000, in fact, at this point. And with 4 items on Airy, nearly a death cap for Tempt, Azir, and Chasy, who is so monstrously ahead of his opponent in Sinmivak. You might have ornaments coming through. It might be just a touch too late. Lucker has a lot of work ahead of him alongside Nite if they want to hold on to this game.
I mean, Aatrox is 3 levels ahead of his opponent. You see that Tempt 2 levels ahead of Nite as well. That's a lot of damage, but this target now has a Bloodthirster. This target has the Immortal Shield Bow as well. That poke, it means so much less. See how much HP is going to heal off of the next wave, and suddenly those ultimates you throw at him mean absolutely nothing.
They are not 100-0. They're just poke, as you said, and that would be great in a team fight.
HP.
Yeah, he's right back, and that is the issue. The gold's just not there anymore to make those picks as deadly as they were, say, 10 minutes ago. Now Attila can return some of the favors that the early laning phase was punishing him, his health bar at that point. But the wave shoved in top, in mid, in bot. AGO Rogue need to hold on, or this game might well be over. Viking slides over the wall with the Vault Breaker, and the vault that is AGO Rogue's brace is swiftly broken into, as the name suggests.
Yeah. X7, again, eating an ult on the top side on Tempt, but it just doesn't mean anything. X7 being so controlled about the way that they play this game. It's a word we use to get for them in the regular season and most of the playoffs. It's discipline, not giving the easy victories up, staying in the game and not throwing the game over to the opponent's win condition. In the finals, we lost that a little bit from them. We took them obviously to that reverse sweep where they kind of lost that factor about themselves. But in this game in particular, it's been very impressive for them to see what AGO Rogue can throw at them and just play the better game against their win conditions.
Chasy and Viking to the backside. They're on to Rabble, who's pulled straight back to the center of that abyssal chain. The on-ball dash afterwards, and Kasing gets that one. In goes Viking's got a GA to buy time. Nite is dead. promisq and FLICKR back to the fountain. Tempt taken down low, but FLICKR taken solo in turn. promisq eats an ultra shot laser. Chasy onto the fountain to claim the Ashe's life, and FLICKR alone survives. A double for Tempt. They'll back for the final inhibitor, and I think it's all over but for the crying.
NLC second seed, but first in their group. Group B, 3-0 for X7 as AGO Rogue fall by the wayside.
They beat LDLC, they go undefeated in groups, and X7 put their name in the hat. They are here to contest, they are here to do as Kasing suggested and make a run for the whole damn tournament.
Now, we see AGO Rogue in a very difficult position because now if you are going to make it out of this group, you either got to face this team which just beat you or LDLC, you know, the other team, which also gave you a very difficult defeat. Now, I do think they have been playing well in this group, but this is the level of competition we have in Group B. Now, I have to say, I wasn't completely sold on this whole like Group B, Group of Death thing at the start of the tournament because a lot of people were saying it, but I was like, yeah, but look at their form coming into this. Maybe X7 and AGO Rogue have some things to figure out, but actually X7 hit the ground running. AGO Rogue showed their own good gameplay as well. Group B has actually been a very strong group, and honestly, Anorthosis, even throwing their name into that hat as one of the play-ins teams, did very well to get this far and have also given some questions in some choice moments to these teams. Group B, fairly high level. It's been absolutely cutthroat.
Well, let's talk about exactly how cutthroat it is, because we're going to be joined by none other than Viking. Good to see you again after the NLC finals. Congratulations on the 3-0. And maybe let's start with the comp there, because it was a little bit of an unusual one from an AGO Rogue. How was it to play against? Because it felt like it got a little bit frustrating with how much poke they had.
Yeah, of course. Hello, guys. Nice to meet you again.
See you again.
I think that it was a bit weird comp. Yeah, I mean, of course, we're reliant on me to engage, and I'm like, yeah, it's a classic. Like when I play Vi, we have like no follow up, and I'm like alone going in, and my staff is telling me to build like not tank Vi, alone engage. I get like tilted, but I mean, this game was fine because I meet Trundle. That will steal my stats, but. Yeah, I mean, it was a bit annoying, but I also feel like maybe it's not their favorite comp to play. I think the enemy jungler likes to play aggressive and stuff, and I think when they have a comp like this, you're kind of more reliant on the laners too. And I mean, I think we just have better laners in general, you know. And what's called? I mean, I was pretty comfortable, but at some point, I mean, I built like stopwatch pretty early to like and GA to like be able to go in, you know, because if it's like front to back fight, I think is a bit annoying for Vi compared to Trundle that can steal tank stats at least, you know. But yeah, I mean, I think Guardian Angel is pretty good buy for me to get more time when I go in and stuff.
Honestly, I picked up on that as well, and it really felt like in this game, and actually just in general, I mean, the way you talk about the game, it seems like you have this deeper insight into enemy win conditions. How do you feel X7's grip on the meta is as a whole right now? Because obviously coming into a new tournament, new patch from what you played your playoffs on, it can be a bit of a learning curve. How comfortable are you feeling and the team as a whole playing on the patch for groups?
Yeah, I mean, we're very comfortable. Like yesterday, for example, I guess LLC thought something would happen if they banned Rek'Sai by Jarvan, I guess. Maybe we will have less engage, and maybe they feel that X7 is reliant on me to engage a lot, because we don't really get a lot of engage usually. But and also it's like enchanter meta kinda. But I mean, I just picked Trundle, and they kinda picked Kasing and never expected me to invade, but I knew before the game I was going to invade no matter what almost. But so it was like perfect game for it with Trundle. But and if my top didn't die yesterday in that game, I mean, I did every preparation with invade, for example, like the Tempt ward. If Kasing choose to invade my bot side, I could choose to run into my bot side and I just had planned out the first 4 minutes before the game, you know.
So what you're saying is, if we clip that out and we send that to your top laner, he's going to be really,
Yeah,
he's going to learn something.
Of course, I said my top is trolling. I mean, I said Kasing has no job, but he should never get a kill in top, you know.
Fantastic.
But yeah.
All right. Finally, I think we've got time for one more question. So I guess at this point, you guys are 3-0, but this is a very tough group with tournament favorites LDLC in it. How are you feeling looking forward to next week? Are you guys confident you're coming out on top, or you still got some stuff to work on in your mind?
I mean, I think we're going to look for the first spot, you know, but I think LLC is like one of the best or the best team in tournaments. So, of course, we have to prepare well. And they are going to probably come in with different preparation, different idea compared to this time. And I'm going to help a lot to win the draft as well, you know. So it's going to be, I think it's going to go well.
Always wonderful to hear your words of confidence, and thank you for the really in-depth insight as well. Really appreciated. Best of luck with the tournament. Of course, as the NLC reps, we're rooting for you. So hope to see the best next week.
See you around.
Thank you, guys. Have a nice night.
Always a pleasure to chat with Viking, who gave us some really good insight there on some of like the item choices and stuff in terms of not the easiest game to play the Vi, but the stopwatch into the G making a lot of sense. And this play here is exactly that's
lovely. Right. Okay. Well, it does show, you know, it does show the logic, right? Of just like you are the sole engager. It's kind of difficult when you're stuck in the front line. Ezreal Rogue's composition very good at hitting the first target, but it is great to hear from Viking. And of course, we talked a lot around the NLC finals. We got to meet him in person, as it was actually a LAN event. And the way he thinks about the game is very intelligent, always out there looking to discuss the game. And as a whole, X7 in this game and against LDLC, I think they did a really good job of understanding how the enemy team wins and just stopping them from ever achieving that. And again, in this game, it's just like, look, we can just fight away from the objectives at points too. Let's not fight this front to back, use our mobility. And even though it's a difficult job for Viking to really find the hard engages as the sole diver with lacking engage, you can see, of course, those optimization choices came into it too, and eventually walk away with a win, which was a very comprehensive win in a lot of ways. It's not necessarily just to smash them, but it's an intelligent win, which I think is another important skill set to show.
It really, really was. And this was the fight that finally broke it. The engage was so swift and so hard, and FLICKR just could not get to stand and fight despite having got a lot of those early kills. And Chasy on this Aatrox at this point was a bit of a terror, and the game is kind of lights out from this point. And well played from X7 to stall out for long enough to get to the point where they were practically unbeatable once the items came through. And it's that final fight where it really is just finishing off what remains of AGO Rogue.
Yeah, and they really did build up their gold advantage coming into this one. As soon as you get the Baron, the game's effectively over up to this point. But AGO Rogue, I mean, as much as we come from the NLC background and we do know a lot about that team, I am seriously impressed with how they ended up playing around a lot of these early objective fights, particularly that second dragon. I was sat there thinking, actually, like, very good play for them to single out that first target and just make it really difficult that even with that gold advantage, X7 couldn't walk through to easy wins. They had that one passage of play where they found a couple of poor fights to AGO Rogue between Dragon Spawns, which really set them behind. But outside of that, honestly, we were getting a little bit worried, and they kept the game in question.
Absolutely. And I think don't let that goal graph, don't let that scoreline make you think otherwise, because AGO Rogue actually did a very good job at contesting that and doing their very best to stay in the game, even if X7 were just gathering gradual advantages. Alas, however, I think it is time for us to consider going to a break, because we've still got one more game to go. It will, of course, be Heretics versus BDSA Academy. And before we cut to break, it's very important, because we're going to have to kick back and listen to some bangers. We've got to check out our Warner song of the day, which is, of course, Swedish House Mafia with Fred again. Turn on the lights. Enjoy the tune, and we'll see you in a few.